Can they hear me? They hear me live out there. Next beat. That ain't the beat I wanted to.
Those was wood
another
beats
beat.
right
Another
there.
beat. Nope. Give me another beat. Give me another beat. Nope. That's not it. That's the beat. Turn it up.
Oh, word.
Turn it up. I gotta hear it a little louder. Can you make it louder than my headphones? Turn me up in my headphones. I'm still stuck in the 80s/90s. Lottos, kangaroo boots, natty ghosts, Velas, jumpsuits and troops, Junos, color Levi's, Bugs Bunny sweaters with the rhinestone ring on it. Fighting and making up the next day. Nobody getting shot. Working a hustling to get it, a get got. We had love for the streets, our family, our foes, our friends. Respect for the elderly. Pager/payphone, sneaking into Adams Theater. Watching Crush grooving tougher than leather. Hopping gates out the college port to bang out, cause you don't wanna get caught at mom's crib or at Von's crib. Eating funny dinner with the fam. Church every Sunday, 8 o'clock a.m. And even if I fell asleep in the back row or played sick, no matter what, man, I still had to go. 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm a rapper. He's a DJ, I'm a rapper. 80s, baby.
Good evening, Internet. This is the Xcast here on the EmpireMedia.com. Webisode number 51K of the Xcast, if you'd like to be precise. Why the letter behind it that Adam won't recognize? The letter resembles? No. The letter shows that tonight is a Deep Issues cast. I am your host, Josh Houslander. With me, as always, is Adam Hernandez working the boards. We do not have no Ed Zaharsky tonight. No Kyle Puska. Just me and Adam working this one. Tonight's Deep Issue is MKUltra. What's up, Adam?
Is that what the K stands for in the K of the episode tonight?
That is just a coincidence. Just strictly a coincidence that the MKUltra is on webisode number 51K. It's day 4,798 in the search for Tim Shovelday, if you were wondering, by the way. But no, that's a good coincidence. I didn't even, put two and two together on that one.
Another coincidence tonight was us once again having internet problems.
You're not kidding, Adam. I'm not trying. We're not trying to make up some crazy story here, but Adam has the best internet you can buy. The best internet you can get for the studio here.
Well, the thing is, Josh, is we're hardwired.
Right.
I mean, we're not running off of a wireless signal or anything like that. We are hardwired right into the modem,
mm-hmm.
and you wouldn't think that we would have issues like that.
Right.
Yet, coincidentally enough, the last time that we had internet problems is when we were talking about Project Bluebeam.
A month ago.
Yeah, a month ago.
So you basically have not had any internet issues in a month. You've done the Majors Live. We've done the Xcast, our regular show.
Mm-hmm.
All these times, you're on the internet every day, all day. You're on the internet constantly. You have quite an internet presence. No issues whatsoever, but we can't get on the internet when we have our Deep Issue show to talk about Project Bluebeam. And now tonight, we have major internet issues trying to get on when we've talked about how tonight we're going to discuss MKUltra, the CIA mind control program.
Yeah, we could not get on. I mean, we were like 15 minutes late or something like that.
Right. I mean, is this a coincidence? Probably.
It probably is.
It's probably a coincidence, but is it? It's weird, right? I mean, for those of you listening out there, we are here. We are on. We are still getting our voice heard.
I mean, either way, we were going to get on. Because we could still... because I'm recording right now.
Sure.
I'm recording along with actually streaming the episode. So either which way, it's going to get recorded and it's going to get posted to the to the internet, one way or the other.
Right.
So
and that's where we really that's the viewers we really shoot for. I love doing this show live. We record this show live. We don't set the stuff up. Of course, we talk about what we're going to talk about beforehand, and we do our prep, but we don't set anything up. This show is live. I love doing live shows. I love live radio. I love live TV. That's, it's my specialty. Fun. Yeah, that's always been something I've preferred to do. I've done it both ways, but I like to do live stuff. I like being live. I like the intensity of it, and it's fun. But we're gonna, like you said, Adam, it's gonna get aired either way, but it does almost have that air like like somebody's screwing with us, like somebody's saying like, "Hey, we know what you're doing, and we're listening. And we can just we can mess with you if you want." It's like somebody kind of prodding us, saying, "Hey, we can do something about this if we want, or we know who you are."
I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, we've got North Korea having nuclear weapons pointed at
right.
us. I mean, it's not like we need to be worrying about us once again talking about mind control or anything like that.
Sure, and Adam, what's weird about our show too is we're not one of these conspiracy shows that gets on board with every conspiracy.
No,
we take a deep issue. It's often a conspiracy. Sometimes it's more philosophical or even religious or just spiritual or scientific.
Fun things to talk about.
Right. We take a deep issue. We discuss it, and oftentimes we get behind it. Oftentimes we say it's bunk and it's garbage, and more often than not, we get disagreement. Usually there's more than two of us here, but typically
it's me disagreeing with Ed.
Right. Right. So basically what happens normally, especially when it's Adam, Ed, and I, is basically Adam and Ed always disagree, so then you can just take what I say, and that's pretty much right. Whatever I say is pretty much...
You sound like myself. Yeah.
No, but that's actually what I like about our deep issues. I don't even know how Adam feels about this issue. I won't really know till the end of the show. And we go out of our way to try to, not to convince each other of our own thing, but we like to go in with our own opinion, then talk about it, and then reveal how we're really thinking. But I must say, dude, when it comes to MKUltra, this one gives me the creeps.
Well, the thing is, Josh, is it's not... MKUltra isn't a conspiracy theory. I mean, MKUltra is actually something that happened.
Totally.
And coincidentally enough as well, I mean, we talked about Project Bluebeam last time, a month ago, when we did our last deep issues, which I think we kind of described Project Bluebeam as kind of like the all-encompassing mother of all conspiracy theories.
Sure.
I mean, it brought on like many different conspiracy theories and kind of rolled it into one. I mean, you brought in, in some ways you brought in mind control, you brought in, religious conspiracy theories, you brought in
Sure.
New World Order, you brought in Illuminati. I mean, that's, hallucinations,
biblical things.
Biblical
too,
thing,
like
like I said,
ideas as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of rolled it into one, and I thought it was a little ironic, getting into MKUltra this week or this time around, considering it does, it does in many ways kind of relate back to
Bluebeam.
Bluebeam.
Yeah.
It's I guess Bluebeam in and of itself is not as direct as MKUltra is as far as the whole mind control thing, because when it came to Project Bluebeam, they were controlling you and they were controlling your mind, but not in the same aspects that MKUltra does. MKUltra is much more direct in terms of mind control, because that's what it was all about.
As an individual aspect.
Yeah, it was like, Josh, I'm going to try to control your mind now using drugs A, B, and C.
Sure.
Whereas Project Bluebeam, they didn't want you to know that they were controlling your mind. And again, that may not be the case with MKUltra to the fullest extent, but the whole thing with Project Bluebeam was they wanted you to think that, there was, a deity or,
Sure.
something else coming to Earth, and, they were going to control you in that sense. Not necessarily with drugs, but...
No, you're right. And that's, and I actually thought Ed actually made a really great point last week, which, by the way...
Last month.
The reason Ed's not here, it's Ed's anniversary tonight, so a shout out to our normal co-host Ed Zaharsky and his wife Sarah Zaharsky. Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary! Congratulations!
But
baby on the way too.
Yes, yeah, they do. We're spreading all his personal information tonight, and if he doesn't like that, well, then he shouldn't have signed up to be on a podcast.
I'm not even sure if he signed up to be on it. I'm pretty sure we just be like, hey.
Well, yeah. I don't remember receiving.
Come tonight.
I definitely don't remember receiving a resume or signing a contract with him. That's for sure. But But that's what happens when it's almost like becomes a family business. That's my cousin, so it's just like, hey, dude, come be on our show. But and to recap real quick, I don't want to spend too much time recapping because I would love if you're interested in Project Bluebeam, go back and check out the show. But if you did miss it, Project Bluebeam, like Adam kind of noted, is this idea that government or Illuminati or some major group is going to plan a fake something, a fake alien attack, a fake coming of Christ, a fake enormous tragedy or life-changing event that will force the world to go underneath one flag or one something.
Yes.
But basically what happens with that is the point that Ed made last week that I really think is great, because Bluebeam seems so crazy. It's like the craziest conspiracy theory we've ever talked about on this show. But the point Ed made was that if you believe in any of these conspiracy theories, if you believe in Illuminati or just believe in government taking over or groups, secret societies, anything, if you believe in any of this stuff at all, then Bluebeam has to be, in essence, the natural end game. What else is the end game? What is it that you believe that these people are going to eventually do? These bad people who are out to get you. What is it that they're eventually going to do? It kind of has to be something along the lines of Project Bluebeam. But that being said, that's not really tonight's topic. Tonight's topic, like Adam said, MKUltra. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. And there are conspiracy theories surrounding MKUltra, or that involve MKUltra, but MKUltra existed. It existed from 1953 to 1973. It was a program in the CIA, a mind control program that they were conducting from, it began in 53. They hit it hard well into the 60s, and it wasn't officially shut down, although it was curtailed several times in the 60s. I want to say like 62, 65, both those years it was curtailed, and I think maybe even again in 67 it was hit hard, but it wasn't officially stopped until 1973. So this was going on for 20 years in the CIA. And I'm sorry, but I don't really trust these government agencies that much. So when they say it's curtailed, but it doesn't stop till 73, I got to imagine that there's still people working on it really hard, at the very least, for those 20 years. But this is official. This has been ruled on in the Supreme Court. It's been
Senate hearings.
Yep. Many Senate hearings. It has been ruled on in court to the point where there is precedence involved, where you can use MKUltra to talk in court. I mean, this happened for sure. You ask, what is it exactly? What were they doing? There was, what. What were their plans for mind control? Well, they would tell you it's all just innocuous. It's just kind of, nothing specific. It's just kind of is what it is.
Well, it seems like there was specific reasons surrounding, the initial element and the initial purpose of MKUltra. I mean, it was the height of the Cold War. It was the height of the Soviet and the communist threat. So there was a rumor that communist countries like Russia or
perhaps even China
were using mind control to when they're interrogating Americans,
sure,
U.S. citizens, U.S. agents over there. So the United States figured, if they're doing it, then
sure,
let's see if we can do it as well.
Right. And the good patriotic sell is, they're doing it, so we just have to look into this.
Yeah,
we have to examine it.
So they and that was the reasoning behind doing it in the first place, is they were going to try and use mind control on Soviet or different government agents, foreign government agents, to try to get information out of them. And there were different drugs that they were going to try to use. It wasn't, I mean, there's hypnosis aspect to it, but it seemed like the main base of trying to get somebody or trying to control somebody else's mind is they were going to use drugs to do it, namely LSD. And there was also another drug too that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it sounded like it was like a cocktail where it would.
I'm not a drug guy. I really
No,
don't
neither
know this
am I.
stuff. But are angel dust and LSD the same thing, or are those just similar things? Or,
I don't know. I guess I can look it up.
I think they're similar things, but I know that something we know they used for sure was they would use amphetamines and barbiturates simultaneously during
PCP. Angel dust is PCP.
Okay. But they
We're
would use
so fucking late.
Well,
dude.
yeah, I mean, sorry, we didn't party that way in high school and college.
I'm drinking caffeine-free Diet Pepsi right now, so
Yeah, that was I'm definitely not the guy, and I'm also kind of not only am I, I've never been a drug user in my life, but I'm also I'm kind of an anti. I don't go to the doctor very often. So I'm not a prescription, I'm kind of ignorant about what different drugs.
you don't need that status bullshit, right?
I don't need that status bullshit. Right? No, but I don't. I veer away from even prescription drugs and things like that. So I don't. I'm not one of those guys that knows. I know some people just kind of have some, even if it's limited, a medical background where maybe they would know this stuff. I'm sure there's people listening like I'm not a drug addict, but I know the difference between those things, you idiots. And if you're that person, good for you. But no, they would use amphetamines and barbiturates at the same time. Basically, a barbiturate kind of puts you to sleep, right? Amphetamine kind of makes you go crazy. So what they would do, I guess, is they would pump you full of barbiturates. They would do literally one IV in one arm, another IV in the other arm at the same time of barbiturates and amphetamines. They'd pump in the barbiturates first, and then when you were on the brink of deep sleep, they would pump you full of the amphetamines. So then you would wake up and be going crazy. You'd wake up and you'd start, talking about monsters or, just
that's what it was.
You'd be going crazy.
Yeah, you would start babbling, and then they would use that.
But supposedly, yeah, when you started babbling, when you started freaking out or doing stuff, that they could ask you stuff, and they would get some good information. Because you have no idea where you are. You're not at that point consciously revealing the secrets You're just gonna say it because you think, in essence, I guess you're talking to your own mind, is what you think you're thinking. Answering a question, if you know the answer to it, you're gonna answer it. It's no different than answering, what's your birthday? It's stream of conscious. You're just gonna answer it. Is their idea. When there's people out there thinking, oh, geez, if you got Osama bin Laden out there, that seems like a good way to do it without having to pull his toenails out or something.
Sure, and there is definitely that aspect of an easier way to abstract information from enemy agents.
Sure, but then again, that is not who they were testing this on.
No,
they were testing this on unwilling civilians.
They were testing it on unwilling civilians. They were testing it on willing civilians. It really didn't have a limit to what they can do. That is until Gerald Ford signed basically a law into action that you can't test shit on people unknowingly.
Right, and Ford, even to his credit, they claim that he's one of the few people that kind of looks good if you really get heavy into the conspiracy aspect of it, because a lot of people believe that Ford actually tried to secretly leak more about this stuff, almost like coded messages.
Bad news too.
Like he was trying to tell us more about it, but couldn't say everything he wanted to because he was probably scared too or something. But
you see what happened to Kennedy,
right?
And the whole conspiracy surrounding that.
Exactly. Another thing they did, just kind of set the precursor for this, and this stuff, before we get too deep into the crazy stuff, this is just the stuff we know they did for sure. But they would they would try to use concussions and amnesia as potential brainwash therapy, is the way they described it. So they would try to go in there and take...
and this is all CIA, too.
Yeah.
All CIA.
Linked to At one point, it was linked to a sect of the army in the, I believe, mid-50s. And before that, it was there was a part of the Navy that was beginning to look into this stuff, but that it was shut down and taken over by the CIA. So Army and Navy involved to some degree at different points, but yeah, this is CIA. And the thing is, when they did this with the brainwash therapy, in essence, they were trying to weaponize this, trying to find ways to create a blunt or non-physical weapon that could be used to screw up your brain or shut you down, or or brainwash you, or give you amnesia or something. So I mean, pretty crazy stuff. Ever heard of Donald Cameron? That name ring a bell to you?
I have in my reading. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, but he was of Scottish descent, but he was the Scottish psychiatrist. They know that he was paid around 69 grand to go to Canada and to perform some of these experiments on Canadian citizens. The MKUltra thing originated in New York. They shot him up to Canada, and his gig was psychic driving. And it was basically a mix of, he would take paralytic drugs, and again, that I don't really know what that means.
Neither do
I'm
I.
assuming paralytic has something to do with paralyzing, but that has nothing to do with medicine or drug knowledge. It has everything to do with, I'm trying to analyze the word here, but paralytic drugs. And
that's exactly it. Causes it causing paralysis of the affected muscular or skeletal muscles. So, yeah, go ahead.
And basically, when they're in this state, he would expose people to the same statement. He would have a recorded statement, and he would expose it to them thousands of times. It's the same statement over and over again, thousands and thousands of times. I mean, some people even claim that it was like 500,000 times. He would say this to them, same thing over and over again. In essence, saying that then through hypnosis or through something else, because he worked with electroshock therapy, he used LSD, he used sensory deprivation, and his goal was to be able to break down your personality and remove it, and then in hopes that when that personality was removed, that he could replace it with a different one. So basically that then, you could go back to healing yourself, and we're talking Manchurian Candidate stuff here. Yep. That in essence, you would go back to your normal life, but there would be something that they could do to you, a code word, a visual thing, something that would be shown to you, or some event that would happen, and if that were to happen, then you would snap back into this other personality, and you would go do their bidding.
Kind of like Zoolander. You ever see Zoolander?
No, I never saw Zoolander.
It's like kind of the premise to Zoolander.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've actually never seen Manchurian Candidate.
Neither have I, but
I've seen parts of the old one.
The topic of Manchurian Candidate certainly did come up in all of this. So
yeah, I mean, this is the end. Now, did they ever accomplish anything like that? That would be the conspiracy.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, what and that's the only conspiracy to this is what was the end game in all of it? What type of precedent were you setting?
And did it work? And did they ever do it?
Did it work? Did you ever do it? And are you still doing it now? Those are the biggest questions coming out of all of this, because, like we said at the top of the show, there is no conspiracy about this. There's no question on whether or not MKUltra actually existed. It did exist, and really, Josh. Another crazy thing about all of this as well is a lot of the documents regarding MKUltra were destroyed.
Yes,
they were destroyed, and the information that we do have about it is very, very limited in and of itself. I mean, only certain amounts of documentation survive the original attempt to just destroy everything regarding it. And it wasn't until a Freedom of Information Act was filed that it was, that we were able to, get a lot of this stuff declassified.
Right. And I want to say the Freedom of Information Act was in 76.
It was in the 70s.
That was enacted. But Richard Helms, who was the CIA director in 1973, he ordered all documents that had anything to do with MKUltra destroyed. So really all we saw after the Freedom of Information Act went through, all we saw was what they didn't get to.
Yes,
because
exactly.
we do know for a fact that Richard Helms, who was the head of the CIA in 73, when this project was shut down, he ordered all of this stuff, to be wiped clean. And this was, this predates the internet, predates sending emails and Googling. So really, they burnt and destroyed and shredded a lot of documents, but they still managed to piece together some stuff, and it's still pretty incredible.
It's really what's also incredible and scary about this too, Josh, is it just wasn't about mind control. I mean, there were other aspects regarding Ultra that they were trying to inflict onto other people, and it looked like they were trying to, let's see here, 1955 Ultra diagrams give indication of the size and range of the effort. This diagram first. They were trying to develop ways to get people to age faster or slower in maturity. Develop, different drugs to cause different physical ailments like blisters on the body. What were some of the other things here? Substances which alter personality structure in such a way that the tendency of the recipient to become dependent upon another person is enhanced, that's mind control. There's no doubt about it. Substance which will lower the ambition and general working efficiency of men when administered in undetectable amounts. So they tried to. It's incredible because they were looking for any which way to try to get at the person that they were trying, that they were testing this on. I mean, to the extent of trying to take away their ambition. I mean, look at it like this. I mean, we have this whole thing going on with North Korea right now. Imagine, the CIA trying to administer a drug to Kim Jong-un that would take away his ambition to pursue nuclear weapons. I mean,
take away his ambition to acquire them, or take away his inhibition to use them.
Yes, and imagine that. I mean, on the surface, Josh, it would seem like that would be an amazing alternative. Sure. Yes, that's what we want to do. Imagine all the lives it would save. Imagine, all the money it would save from having to spend just, billions of dollars in a war with North Korea. Sure. You would save your own munitions, but what would the end game be in all this? If you could sit
who's
here,
controlling this great power?
If you could sit there and do that to Kim Jong-un, what would prevent you from doing that to other people, other world leaders, or your own citizens?
A big thing too that they got into was because they were so into hypnosis, there was an entire sect of MKUltra that their plan was, or their mission, if you will, was just simply to study what type of personalities were most easily hypnotized. So they would know who to target, how to target them, what people maybe aren't worth trying to hypnotize because maybe they don't have the right personality, but simply what type of person hypnosis would be, who would be their best target in essence. And it's scary to me because the way you put it, Adam, with the, you can get rid of their inhibitions or whatever. In essence, if you did that properly, I mean, just biologically speaking, I'm no biologist, but like biologically speaking, or the chemistry, you could almost turn any man into a rapist. You could turn any angry person into a murderer. You know, I mean, you could do that if you truly had the power to be able to do this, because that's what you do with, you know, with your inhibitions. That's what you do with your mental capacity, is you tell yourself right and wrong, and you don't do wrong because you know wrong is wrong. But wrong is what your inner brain often tells you to do. You know, it's what your instinct will tell you to do. In a lot of cases, it's, you know, again, I'm not a psychologist, like I'm not a biologist, I'm not a psychologist either, so I'm not, you know, trying to grasp as full of, you know, the idea of fight or flight, or the idea of what your psyche would really have you do if you didn't have any sort of mental, social, cultural blocks.
And the mind is already an incredibly, I don't want to say scary, but it's an incredibly powerful,
oh, absolutely,
you know, thing on you that the mind can already make you think about or develop ailments, physical ailments on the body. I mean, the mind can make you physically sick if it wanted to, or if you allow it to.
Sure.
And myself, I've had that happen to me before, where I've totally stressed myself out or made it seem that I was dealing with something.
Sure.
That it didn't cause me to have this particular ailment, but it certainly caused other things to happen physically to me that got me worried for no reason, really. Other than that, you know, that there's, you know, that I maybe should, you know, get on a drug or something like that to help me control it. But go ahead.
No, and that's, you know, and just a few of the things that we know for sure that they had people working on, and it doesn't mean one person. They had people, teams of people working on, is that they were trying to do the creation of a hypnotically induced anxieties. So, in essence, you know, that is what it sounds. They could take a person who they had previously hypnotized and freak them out over something, give them, you know, put them in a state of an anxiety attack, in essence, to throw them off. Then, on the other hand, positive things, if they're, you know, controlling, again, this is kind of like a Manchurian Candidate thing, or a sleeper agent, that, you know, and perhaps creating an agent or a courier that the person doesn't even know that they are an agent, a courier, possibly even an assassin. And some of the other things they were working on were having you have a hypnotically increased ability to learn, so you could just soak up information. Another thing would be to recall complex written material. So in essence, like, they could show you, you know, make you read a book and then hypnotize you to remember every detail of said book.
And you know,
even though you don't maybe even remember that you even read it.
Yeah, and the thing is, Josh, on all of these, a lot of these items seem like hooks.
Sure.
You know, like, you want a drug that can help you retain information better, help you read better, help you remember just different aspects of your life better. Try this. And
think of all the drugs that have come out since these things.
Oh, I mean,
you got your Adderall that people get hooked on. You got, you know, you got drugs like that people have gotten hooked on. You got your Adderall and your Ambien, and, you know, and these all come about after these experiments are done in the CIA, and you got to wonder, especially since we know that they brought in pharmaceutical companies, universities, and sometimes the people at the top knew that they were working for the CIA, sometimes they didn't. In fact, if we got a second, I would actually like to read what the Supreme Court said about this, just so we know. So this is official.
Oh, let's throw this out there too, because they actually brought in Nazi doctors too.
Yes,
to help.
Always
with
scary
with this project. So Nazi doctors who were convicted in the Nuremberg trials, were actually brought in to, based on all of the sick things that they did on Jewish people during World War II, and so yeah, there were Nazi doctors involved with this too.
And somehow, and to me, this just screams intergovernmental conspiracy or big government scariness or whatever you'd want to call it. But somehow they did convince the Supreme Court that many things in this should be redacted. That names of people and many of the titles of programs would be redacted. How they convinced them of that? Well, I guess they're the CIA. So even when the CIA seems like they're getting nailed, they seem to be pulling strings somewhere. But I'll kind of read some excerpts here. But I don't normally like to read stuff on the show to people. But concerned with the research and development of chemical, biological, and radiological materials capable of employment in clandestine operations to control human behavior, the program consisted of some 149 sub-projects, which the agency contracted out to various universities, research foundations, and similar institutions. At least 80 institutions and 185 private researchers participated. Now, to me, when you know that... Well, I'll continue reading, and then, sorry, I shouldn't have stopped. I'll go back to the real stuff, but... At least 80 institutions and 185 private researchers participated because the agency funded MKUltra indirectly. Many of the participating individuals were unaware that they were dealing with the agencies. Then skip a little. Between 1953 and 1966, the Central Intelligence Agency financed a wide-ranging project codenamed MKUltra, concerned with the research and development of chemical, biological, and radiological materials capable of employment in clandestine operations to control human behavior. Now, to me, when that's what they're releasing to the public, that's what the Supreme Court's actually saying. If they're saying 80 and 185, to me, my brain just says, okay, at least double that. Triple it. 149 sub-projects. Quadruple that. But those are big numbers. That's big news. That's what, the CIA fights and wins to have stuff redacted. And that's still what they're telling us. That's not cool. That's crazy stuff. In essence, that's really crazy stuff. Back to this Donald Cameron, real quick. We can wrap up with him, but to him, now he's using LSD, electric shock therapy, sensory deprivation. We said, his goal is to take away your personality and either replace it completely or hide a different personality inside your brain. But some of the people that went into there claimed that they went into this clinic with nothing more than just minor anxiety issues. The one woman says that she was like a young mom with a bunch of kids, and she was just overwhelmed. Was just trying to go in there for get a break, maybe get a couple of pills to calm her down a little bit or something, and people were leaving the clinic weeks and weeks later. Some of them were unable to speak. A lot of them were unable to function. Practically vegetables. So, crazy stuff going on at this place. They would, in essence, have to prep you for weeks. Keep you in this clinic for weeks just to get you to the point where they would bring you before these CIA operatives, who then would just really mess with you. Really start throwing this stuff down.
And those who have problems with anxiety anxiety can be debilitating.
Oh, absolutely.
In and of itself. It's an illness that is horrible, and like I said, if you're dealing with it, then it's something that will put you on your ass, and in a lot of sense, you will do anything to help get rid of it or find some relief from it. And I can certainly see, the why they would go and specifically look for people with anxiety issues to help them I don't know if
They
are,
obviously handpicked this clinic.
Yes, and yeah. I don't want to say they're maybe easier to control, but when you're dealing with somebody who is already having problems with their psyche, then I think that's going to be much more. It's going to be much more. It's going to be easier for someone to go and influence them.
I agree. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And if it's not easier for them to influence people who are having extreme problems with anxiety, it's easier to admit them.
Yeah.
Admit them to a clinic, tell them they can't leave, and now you have control of what you're going to do to this person. Another thing I thought was weird that they were really into, the people that they wanted to analyze, was they were very into, when they did their things in jails, of criminal sexual psychopaths. Real nasty people, and they especially wanted the ones who denied their crimes on the stand, or even, continued to deny them while in jail. I don't know why that is. Why would you think that? I couldn't really get any insight into why they would do that, but that seems strange to me, especially since they were working on things to try to hypnotize people through a polygraph.
It seems like I don't know, like a deeper psyche thing with them. Like, why, how can we administer this drug to somebody who, won't give up in their own proclamation that they're innocent, or somebody who won't give up in their persistency in
their quest to make their life better,
to try to make their life better, or to try and pull the wool over the social justice, or not the social justice, but the justice system's, eyes, and all of this, to hopefully maybe someday manipulate the system so they can go ahead and get themselves out. I don't know. It seems like they, with this drug, I guess, like with any drug trial, they have to test it on a bunch of different types of subjects. So maybe that was,
or just maybe they just found those people extremely interesting and thought they were the right type of bad guy to control or something.
Well, when you're dealing too with prisoners, I think a lot of people in many senses believe that, if you're a prisoner, then you have lost every right that you have, which I don't believe that either, but I'm sure there are plenty of people within the justice system that,
and outside the justice system,
and their correction system, that certainly do believe that. So,
and the thing is too, and what I'm about to say is not something that the CIA's ever admitted or that the Supreme Court acknowledged, but most people, I think, who get into MKUltra type things, they are working under the assumption that the main reason the CIA did MKUltra, was to, in essence, to train spies, couriers, assassins to further their cause. And that the idea behind this was to take these people, turn them into this, and do it not just against their will, but, and to me this is the creepy part, but without their knowledge. Doing something to somebody against their will is one thing, but to do it to where they don't even realize they're doing it, well, that's the real trick, isn't it? This is, it's one thing to, let's make a comic book reference here, or the, comic book movie reference. It's one thing to do the dead shot, where, he's a wicked assassin, but we know the only thing he cares about is his daughter, so let's just let's threaten his daughter and make him do our will, or let's offer him something great, like the whole Suicide Squad idea. Let's offer him something great and then make him do our bidding.
Yeah,
that's one thing. But
I was gonna make a comic book reference too. This reminds me of Scarecrow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Good call. Yeah, no, for sure. But this is more so than that. This is more we're going to get somebody to do our bidding, and they won't even know they're doing it. And that's kind of got CIA written all over it, isn't it?
Well, was it the whole JFK aspect to it? I mean, because we always talk about, before we did the, deep issues on the Kennedy assassination, and was MKUltra perhaps involved with that? Did, if the CIA was involved, and there are the videos out there that may change a lot of minds in terms of who they believe actually killed Kennedy. Right. I know it definitely got me thinking, and I'm not one to be on board with conspiracy theories or anything like that. But those videos, what are they called? What are those specifically called?
The Zapruder film?
Yeah. I mean, you go watch those on YouTube, and they're creepy. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're creepy. They're very, very creepy, and they will get you thinking if you were a firm believer that Lee Harvey Oswald was the one that killed Kennedy, and he was the only one that killed Kennedy. But obviously the other big theory out there was that it was the CIA that did it.
Sure.
Specifically, the driver who did it.
Yes.
Based on those videos. And was he under some type of mind control to, get him to kill the president pretty much in broad daylight? Because it was the middle of the day in Dallas, sunny day, wasn't raining or anything like that. And he maybe shot the president of the United States. And was there the RFK aspect to this too,
absolutely.
Josh?
No, I mean the RFK, the Bobby Kennedy assassination is one of the top, one of the very top MKUltra conspiracies. Sirhan, the guy who is still sitting in prison for the assassination of Bobby Kennedy. If you ever want to go on YouTube and watch some of the interviews with him, they're creepy. He's very convincing. I mean, he's very convincing about this. There was a big cover-up involved in that as well. But many people believe, including Bobby Kennedy's lawyer, who was, what's his name? I'll find it in a little bit. But he, I don't want to hold up the show looking for it. But Bobby Kennedy's lawyer later claimed that he believed that he was under an MKUltra type thing, an MKUltra type control. And the thing is that Sirhan went on the stand, even that many believe that he was still under control, because on the stand he said, "Well, I wanted to kill Bobby Kennedy, and it was a premeditated thing, and and I killed him." But later, without even being totally prompted, said, no, that's not the truth. And when he's being interviewed, some of the interviews are really strange. They're really creepy. And he's not denying that he did it. He did it, for sure. Everybody knows he did it. But he's saying, no, I wouldn't have killed him. I loved RFK. He was like my guy. That's why I was at the rally. I was there. And they're saying, well, you shot him. He's like, yeah, I did shoot him. He's like, I don't have a gun, though. He's saying, well, you bought the gun. And he kind of and maybe it's good acting, who knows, but, in some things I've seen videos where and these are old videos from back then, he's saying, wait, I did have a gun. I do have a gun. I bought a gun. He's saying, yeah, no, I did. I went and bought a gun. But it's like he's remembering it, wait, why would I buy a gun? I guess I bought a gun to kill RFK. He's like, but I wouldn't have brought it with me that day. He's like, oh, I did bring it with me that day. And it really kind of breaks down, and it's really kind of eerie listening to this. And the other thing is the eyewitness accounts that they did. The fairly respected news journalist, or she goes, this wasn't the name she went by then because she had a stage name and she's since been married, but Nina Rhodes Hughes was she was one of the eyewitnesses who says that she heard more than one shooter. She heard shots from different directions, and that she heard more than 8 shots. But they changed her testimony. They changed her original story. They changed it to, oh no, she heard 8 shots. She said, I never said that. Why would I say that? said it was more like 12 to 14. But they wouldn't let any narrative come out that said it sounded like more than 8 shots, even though there's at least 4 other eyewitnesses, along with her, who said they definitely heard more than 8 shots. But Sirhan's gun only held 8 bullets, so we couldn't have had more than 8 shots, right? That'd be impossible. But I mean, he's not a patsy in the case that he didn't do it. He did do it.
Yeah,
but
and there's been a bunch of different theories surrounding why he did it. I mean, there was the Middle East conflict.
Sure. He was a Jordanian citizen, but he was Palestinian.
Yes,
of Palestinian descent, or still is of Palestinian.
Yeah, I mean there
were
were claims that he was maybe drunk, and and the guy could just be crazy too.
Sure,
I mean the guy could just be off his rocker, and and we've seen it obviously before, where he just wanted to go and kill a public figure.
Sure,
but the thing with it is I mean, if this was anybody else, almost any other politician, you might think that, and in the whole thought of conspiracy wouldn't have even crossed your mind. Like, for instance, like the Ronald Reagan thing.
Sure.
Like when Ronald Reagan was shot, I mean, does anybody really believe that it was like some type of conspiracy, like some deep government conspiracy or anything like that?
I've been reading conspiracy theories forever, and I've never heard one ever. It seems like it's one crazy dude who wanted to. Which actress is it? Oh shoot, who he was trying to impress?
Oh, shit. I can't remember.
Jodie something?
Was it Jodie Foster?
Jodie Foster.
It was
yes.
Jodie Foster.
Yes, he was trying to. He knew that Jodie Foster was a big time Democrat who did not like Ronald Reagan.
He didn't like Ronald Reagan.
He was in love with Jodie Foster, so he wanted to impress her by killing Ronald
Reagan.
Just a crazy dude. Really.
Exactly. But I mean, I guess when you're dealing with the Kennedys, I mean, just the tragedy that has surrounded that family forever.
Yeah, but are you just supposed to constantly chalk up the Kennedy family tragedies to coincidence?
And
they have bad luck.
Yeah,
they're cursed. They're
and everything about that family is just very, very odd when it goes even back to his parents, his dad, and the weird shit that was surrounding his dad, and everything that happened to his sister Rose Kennedy.
Sure.
And obviously, the JFK assassination, and now the Robert Kennedy thing, and John
later,
and his
little freak alien. Why did I say alien? Airplane incident.
The airplane incident, and Ted Kennedy with the whole bridge. And
do you know what I found very interesting?
What's
about
that?
The Kennedy thing too.
What's that?
And I haven't heard people scream conspiracy about this so much, but when the Senate did investigate this, one of the top senators,
you're talking MKUltra,
yeah, when one of the top senators who was on board with looking into MKUltra and exposing it was Ted Kennedy.
Yes, he was.
And I kind of wonder, and I know I'm drawing conclusions here, but I kind of wonder if he knows some more because he's a Kennedy, and he's saying like, no, I can't really hit these people the way I want to, but I'm gonna try to do it the right way. Like I'm gonna try to go after them and expose some stuff here.
Yeah,
because
you know what, I never put two and two together with that, but that is an interesting aspect to
like
all
I
of this.
feel like there's a part of him that is Ted Kennedy saying like, no, what, screw these guys, went after my family, screw these guys. I'm gonna try to nail. He knows he can't come out and give a press conference and say, yeah, MKUltra and the CIA killed my brothers.
And that's the thing too, is why wasn't Ted Kennedy offed then?
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't? I mean, because if the CIA was really out to get the Kennedys, I mean, they did it to John.
I feel like he never really truly gave him a reason to.
Maybe he didn't quite cross that line into provoking them enough to do it. So yeah, maybe that's the case, and maybe it's not. Maybe this is all just.
And or did they go for the preemptive attack with Teddy? Because Ted Kennedy wanted to be president. He ran for president in 1980. Never won the nomination, but he did run in the primaries. And I feel like they there's enough that happened, whether it's conspiracy based or whether he really was just kind of a dummy in some ways. Enough happened to him that he was not considered presidential timber. A lot of people love Ted Kennedy. Democrats love Ted Kennedy, but a lot of Democrats thought, oh, I love what Ted Kennedy has to say, but
a lot of
this
people,
guy's not presidential. He can't win. He can't win. They'll keep bringing up Chappaquiddick. They'll keep bringing up his drinking. They'll keep bringing up this. They'll keep bringing up his infidelity. Not that the other Kennedys
he was a Kennedy.
were faithful to their wives, but they seemed to skate. Bobby and JFK, they were smooth enough, and they were in a time where they weren't getting nailed to the wall for their unfaithful actions to their wives or to other people or to the husbands of other people. The husbands of women they were chasing after. So, I feel like enough happened with Teddy where they were like, well, we got him. We can get him if we need to, but he's not a threat because he's wrecked his own life enough to keep him out of the White House.
He could keep digging and digging and digging and digging, and
sure,
he's probably not going to make it to the point where we would have to step in and do something about it.
Sure. By the way, Lawrence Teeter was the name of the lawyer. It was Bobby Kennedy's lawyer who mentioned MKUltra, by name. He said that he believed, or not Bobby Kennedy's lawyer. It was Sirhan's lawyer later on who had said that he believes that he was under some kind of mind control. Now, judicially speaking, under mind control or not, he did do the crime.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where they've always dismissed this idea when he's up for parole or trying to lessen the sentence. He was originally was sentenced to death.
Was sentenced to death, but they it wasn't long, obviously, after he was convicted that they
early 70s
that they just instead gave him life in prison.
Right. And that a lot of that has to do with, well, I don't know this for sure in this case, but that like Charles Manson, for instance, is another guy who was sentenced to death.
But he never actually killed anybody.
Yeah, that he but there was a moratorium placed on the death penalty, a nationwide moratorium on the death penalty that put a lot of people into that limbo state. And I'm not positive if that's had something to do with Sirhan's sentence or not, because there was some statewide stuff going on, and that's same with I know for sure in California where Chuck Manson's at. If you were sentenced to death and then that moratorium happened, then you lost your death sentence for sure. I'm not sure how that worked exactly everywhere. That's not tonight's topic, but I have a feeling that had something to do with it because of the time frame. You're talking early to mid 70s.
Sure.
Let's talk, before we get into some of the really crazy conspiracies here, let's talk about a few more of the things that we know. Project Midnight Climax.
That
sounds hot. Now this is something that they claim anyway. This is kind of a claim, but that they had at least 3 safe houses in San Francisco where they were running this Project Midnight Climax, and their mission was to basically, like Adam had said before, to test the effects of LSD on unsuspecting American citizens, just to see what it does to people. High doses of it to people who have no idea that they're taking a drug, because I do imagine that the the partying drug users out there, when you're taking a drug, I imagine for recreational use, you're kind of like, well, hey, I know I'm going to take some LSD. I'm just going to hang out on the couch and lock the doors and take some LSD or some angel dust or even if it's just, smoke this killer laced weed or something, whatever it is. So that's not really the same thing as somebody who doesn't know that they're under the effects of it. And what they were doing is they were employing hookers they would talk to hookers. they would kind of bring these guys into brothels or just into their own place, and they would give it to the Johns. They would give it to their customers. And then the CIA would be secretly watching, and they would analyze what these guys would do under the effects of LSD. Which this leads to, that's kind of a bit of hearsay there, but they claim that this was going on in New York before they moved this experiment to San Francisco. But the reason they bumped it out of New York was the Frank Olson incident.
Yep.
And Frank Olson was the biological warfare expert. Technically not in the Army. He's a civilian working for the Army. And they pumped him full of LSD. And 9 days later, he fell from a 10-story...
13-story.
Oh, 13-story?
13-story.
Okay. So over 10-story building in a hotel. He was
Yep,
in
it was a hotel.
And he went through the window, presumably committed suicide. He was ruled a suicide, jumped. We don't know that he wasn't thrown out, but
there's some theory out there that he was murdered.
But what we do know is that he went out he went out over 100 feet in the air, out a window, and we do know that 9 days prior he was given major doses of LSD by the CIA. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff floating around about this, big time. If you want to get into more crazy stuff, and it's out there, the crazy stuff is out there for sure. A book. You heard of this book, Adam? Transformation of America.
No.
Not transformation like transformer, like trance, like TRANCE. The Transformation of America.
I was going to say, if there was a Transformers, I don't know, I might have read
cool.
it.
Yeah, I mean, they probably made a movie or a dozen about it by now. But this is written by a chick named Kathy O'Brien. And Kathy O'Brien also wrote, let's see, what was her other book called? Denied for Reasons of National Security. That one she co-wrote with her husband, Mark Phillips. First one came out in 95. That last one I just mentioned came out in, I think it was 04. Yeah, 04. She makes some insanely bold claims in this book. I mean, for the most part, this person she is considered crazy even by the big time tinfoil hats. Even by the, I mean, some of the black helicopter conspiracy theorists, some of the...
Would Alex Jones call her crazy?
He might. He probably would. he probably would, honestly.
What's her name? Sorry?
Kathy O'Brien.
Kathy O'Brien.
But she claims to have been under the influence of MKUltra since childhood. She names a lot of very prominent figures in her books. Presidents, George Bush, and guys like this, Dick Cheney. She names a lot of people in these books, and she claims that she was, put into sex slave rings, and that she was, forced into doing all kinds of crazy satanic things under the influence of MKUltra. For the most part, I mean, some of the big time conspiracy theories root from her books, though. Some of the really nasty stuff, but she is largely, I don't want to say laughed at, but laughed at by the by the conspiracy community. One of the people who makes some really crazy claims as well, but who wasn't known as quite the crazy person and who was given a little bit more credibility was Candy Jones. Does that name ring a bell at all?
Candy Jones. No, not that one.
Candy Jones was a model, a pinup model, one of the big-time pinup models in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, I see her now. Wow.
She was kind of like a very exotic-looking, she was great for it because she was actually extremely tall.
Featured in Yank magazine in 1945. I'm not making that up either.
Yeah, no, not. I think one of the stats was she actually was like 1 month. There was 1 month somewhere in the 40s where she was actually on 11 different magazine covers in 1 month. So she was a big deal. Big time model. She's like 6'4".
Yeah, she's tall.
And I mean, you don't know how tall a woman is when you see a picture of just her, or a man for that matter.
In this picture, she looks tall.
Yeah, but she is, very tall, very skinny, busty, very pretty model. And then later, when she gets a little older, she starts different modeling schools. Actually, is a very, very respected in this industry. Modeling schools, modeling agencies. She claims that she was a victim of MKUltra. Later, she became a radio show host as well with her husband, who was a big time, kind of like, maybe he was even kind of like the Alex Jones of his day or something. Long John Neville was his name. They get married. He's on her, they're on a show together, had a show for many years. And she claims that she was a victim of MKUltra. But what is weird about this is that she does seem like the perfect victim in a lot of ways. She did a lot of work for the USO. She was over in Taiwan and South Vietnam, and she was all over the world. And there are verified reports from sane people saying that she would have all these strange disappearances. They'd go to South Vietnam, they'd go to Taiwan, and they just couldn't find her for a while. And then she'd come back, and it'd be like, oh, what? But in
what
essence,
were you doing?
They believe that, and she came to later believe that she was under the influence of MKUltra, and that she was in essence a courier or a spy. That they would give her messages, and she would kind of shut down and go deliver something or do something for them. And she did actually work for the FBI at one point. Indirectly, it was like no big deal, she thought. But to me, her story it's nowhere near as like on the Kathy O'Brien level of crazy. But she is making kind of the same claim that she was under the influence of MKUltra. And her husband, Long John Neville, said that she would have these episodes where they would always be very brief, but where she seemed like she was an extremely different person. She would all of a sudden, the way he put it was that she would just go into like super bitch mode, kind of like randomly, and then not even realize she did it.
You know what?
And that she had an alter ego named Arlene that would like pop up, and that they believe that this was a creation of MKUltra, that this other personality named Arlene was a creation of them, and that at this point, when he found it out, I think they didn't think she was still being used for these tasks, but it would just pop up for a minute or two because it's just been in there for so long.
A few things that make me skeptical regarding this is, one, I'm very indifferent in thinking that if the CIA was using people to this degree, why would they use somebody noticeable like Candy Jones to go and be a spy? It seems like it'd be counterproductive to what they wanted to do, because wouldn't you want to have somebody pretty inconspicuous to go and...
But I mean, is she that conspicuous? I mean, we didn't know who she was before.
I mean, well, yeah, we didn't, because we weren't living in the in her heyday. But I'm sure somebody then might be more prone to identifying her. Not to mention she was a model. She was over 6 foot tall, and
not exactly a stealthy figure.
Exactly. And the other thing is, again, I'm no psychiatrist or anything like that, but it certainly does seem like she was suffering more from like maybe schizophrenia, or she was bipolar or something like that, rather than being on some and having her mind controlled by the government. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems more so to me, especially since she was dealing with this more late in life as well.
Sure.
That
she did die at age 64, I believe.
64, yeah.
So she didn't, this wasn't something that was she said when she was like old and senile,
No, but it just strikes me as, I mean, given who she was.
But considering who she was, they know that this woman will be in places that they can't get to.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's that aspect to it.
Like, have you ever been to? Okay, like for my other podcast, I, cover a lot of events. They for Settled on the Screen Live, and for what used to be the Twin Galaxies show, or the Twin Galaxies podcast, that was originally called. It's sent on a lot of places where you analyze kind of like a subculture, where you're with these people who are celebrities, but they're only celebrities at this one place. You know what I mean? They're not celebrities to where they're walking down the street in London, or
they're like D-list celebrities.
Right. At best. Probably more like M-list celebrities. But when you're at these events, they can kind of do no wrong. They can walk through velvet ropes. They can leave and come back, and they can break the rules that are just there for everybody else. I feel like if you had somebody like that who wouldn't be stopped if they went outside the zone that you're not supposed to go into, that person could maybe be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly see where you're getting at here. It's just, for me, there's a big difference between bending the rules when it comes to competitive video game.
Mm-hmm.
And
she would be a bigger celebrity than these people.
Sure. And bending the rules when it comes to classified documentation.
Sure. I'm kind of like using this as like I know it's a weird example.
No, I see your point.
I mean, again, like I cover competitive video games for the other podcast, and if Billy Mitchell, the formerly the King of Kong and the King of Pac-Man, first man to ever get a
maybe O-list celebrity when we're talking Billy Mitchell.
Probably, Billy Mitchell. He's
a few steps up.
He's a big deal though.
What's Rudy? Is Rudy an endless?
Rudy Freddy. He's what am I?
I don't know.
Okay, I say whatever I am, Rudy's the letter down from me. If I'm a Q list celebrity, what letter comes after Q? Q or R? Then he would be an R.
You're gonna be hearing from this later.
Rudy will. Rudy, I'm sure would tell you the exact opposite of what I just told you. But no, and I see that with like a guy like Billy Mitchell. He just could walk through anywhere. No one's gonna stop him from walking into the area you're not supposed to be in, or walking through a bunch of security guards.
But if you go outside your realm here, if Billy Mitchell is going outside the competitive video game world and all of a sudden trying to walk into a police department and bring up information on so-and-so, they're probably not going to let him do that. But the thing is that
Candy Jones never claimed to, be an assassin. Or to be, maybe she's just delivering a piece of paper. You know what I mean?
Maybe
that would be the courier idea, the secret courier. Not even a spy, definitely not even an assassin. Just basically because that was one of the MKUltra goals, was a secret courier. In essence, okay, so now we have a guy hidden in South Vietnam. Which I'm sure we do have guys hidden in South Vietnam, especially that. We have a guy hidden in Taiwan. We just need to give him a manila envelope with some info. And we need somebody to deliver it, and you can't send your, big time known CIA guys. You can't send an army guy. So you send a good looking chick who nobody's gonna think is
Yeah, I definitely see where you're going here, and I'm in to play devil's advocate with myself. a pretty girl. Even today, there's a lot of guys that will go that extra mile to
to not stop her,
or to please her or whatever. It's no secret that that people sometimes use sexual appeal to get what they want or try to manipulate a situation. So I wouldn't put that past the the CIA when we're dealing with MK Ultra and trying to do something like that. To me, though, it still seems like this is more of a case of of being bipolar and maybe schizophrenic than
it does seem like it
than actually being
and
having your mind controlled by the government.
I'm gonna say something that people will probably view as sexist, but maybe not sexist. Maybe just
do I get the dump button right here?
Unsympathetic, or I don't know, a myriad of negative connotations.
We are the conservative one on the show, so go ahead.
This isn't about me being conservative. This is about my own life experiences. But okay, so Long John Neville, he marries this chick, and they said that they only knew each other about a month. They got married, but then they kind of lived happily ever after that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying that every once in a while, my woman just goes crazy and just goes into this crazy super bitch mode, and then just kind of gets over it right away. And I'm thinking when I'm reading that, I'm like, have you ever been married, dude? Have you ever met a female? I mean, really, have you ever met someone of the female gender? Because it sounds like every woman I know. Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like the two chicks I've been married to. And I'm not even trying to say that to criticize them. I'm not. Because men have their own quirks too. But okay, you have a chick who has mood swings every once in a while, is what you're saying. You're saying that because your wife has mood swings, she must have, been under MK Ultra control.
Yeah, was she pregnant? Was it that time of the month?
Yeah, I guess, man, I know. I'm pretty sure both the women I was married to are definitely MK Ultra spies. But really, I'm not even trying to say that because to criticize them. I'm just saying, I mean, come on, you guys out there, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're listening with your woman and you want to shake her head, be like, "What's this jerk saying?" Do that. That's the smart move to do.
Turn this off now.
But we know, you know who you are. Men, you know who you are, and women, you may know who you are too. Just saying.
I'm glad you went there and not me. So,
hey, I can, right? You are a happily married man, Adam. You don't need to borrow that kind of trouble.
That's right.
Me, it doesn't really matter for me. I already screwed up my my romantic relationship.
You've earned the right to take that position.
Yeah, no, it's true. But and again, I'm not trying to criticize any in particular. Just saying, people have mood swings. Guys have them too, But there is a bit of a stereotype here that may or may not be true. I think it might be true, but whatever.
I have a feeling a lot of guys would probably agree with you.
Yeah,
on that notion.
I think so. I think the happily married men out there would agree. Yeah, sometimes sometimes women get a little moody, but you just hey, you love them and you deal with it, But another one, if you want to read another kind of crazy Illuminati book. Read the one. I didn't seem to write down the title of the book, but Britt Springmeier is another one that he kind of really he wrote one of the definitive books on the Illuminati mind control. If you want to break into that conspiracy aspect of it. Another thing to look up as well, if you want to do some further MK Ultra thing, is outside of Project MK Ultra, you can look up Project Artichoke. That is
love artichokes.
Yeah. I don't. But Artichoke is the precursor to MK Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it's coming beforehand. The one that Kathy O'Brien talks about is Project Monarch. You'll see a lot of conspiracy stuff about Project Monarch. and that this was like a kind of super secret, super nasty part of MKUltra. In all of the Freedom of Information Act stuff, all the Supreme Court stuff, all the Senate hearings, there's never a mention of Project Monarch. This has never been a thing. But we said Richard Helm, CIA director, did order a lot of stuff destroyed. So is Project Monarch a real thing at all? A lot of people say no. Even a lot of MKUltra conspiracists, they say no, Project Monarch's not a thing. Kathy O'Brien made it up. Because really, outside of Kathy O'Brien, before Kathy O'Brien, you hear no mention of Project Monarch in correlation with this. But she claims it's what she was in and what they were doing, and that's where you get into the real, where you talk about satanic forces and Illuminati forces and things like that coming into it.
Sounds like Project Bluebeam.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing you see a lot of is that you see with celebrities, right? If you've seen these conspiracy theories, Adam, that say a lot of celebrities are under MKUltra control. Roseanne Barr is a big proponent of this. She claims that she says that she outright says that Hollywood is controlled by MKUltra mind control. That many of these people in Hollywood are completely under the influence of this. People have been accused of it are Katy Perry.
Of being under mind control.
Yeah, that they've seen her kind of like space out and think like, oh, she's just like this kind of what is it? Beyonce, Kanye West, Martin Lawrence. Remember the Martin Lawrence breakdown?
I do.
Dave Chappelle.
Do you remember the Dave Chappelle one?
And many people say that Dave Chappelle kind of even hinted at that.
Dave Chappelle one's interesting because he left a lot of money on the table with Comedy Central when that happened.
He did. Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
If you go into recent news, Shia LaBeouf had another recent breakdown.
Yeah, he's been a guy that's definitely kind of gone off the deep end.
Britney Spears and her head shaving thing.
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan. If you hear some of the interviews with Dave Chappelle, he seems to kind of hint that there's something bigger going on here. This isn't just about what the media tells you that, oh, well, it's Hollywood, everybody there does drugs. These are people that I know.
Dave Chappelle left the country, too, when that happened.
Right. You got a guy like Kanye West, and they say, oh, well, yeah, he's Kanye West. He's like got this persona about him. It's just, oh, he was on drugs. No, these are very dedicated people. They're very hardworking people to get to this level. And, I kind of don't always buy that it's just because, oh, yeah, they were on drugs. They just freaked out because they made it big. Why does it happen so much? Like, why does it happen so often? You do wonder, is this them not playing by the rules?
Well, I will say this, Josh, that, I mean, again, going back to the top of the show, it's not something that can totally be thrown out the window because obviously MKUltra was actually a thing.
Sure.
It existed, and I don't think anybody can even fully say that it ever stopped going, even though, there's all the, the hearings and the, and the trials and whatnot. But Hollywood's a big place. I think we get a lot of kooky people in Hollywood. The artistic types especially can be a little bit.
They can, oh, for sure,
a little bit more out there, especially when you're dealing with a guy like Kanye West, who, when it comes to being a lyricist, I think Kanye West is good at what he does. Obviously, just completely nuts though. Mm-hmm. In every other aspect of his life, it seems like.
You ever looked at the pictures of some of these people after their breakdown? This is something that a lot of conspiracy theorists will bring up. Is this idea that there and there is some truth to this when you look at it. Doesn't mean that it wasn't drug related or something else, or just depression or anxiety. It doesn't mean that necessarily, but their face looks empty. You can see something in their face after these breakdowns, and a lot of people point to this and say that's not them anymore. They've been brainwashed.
Yeah, I've heard about it, and like I said, I've dealt with my own issues in the past where people have told me I've looked zombie-like, and
Sure.
I didn't look like myself, and
it happens. I've been there myself.
yeah,
so,
and you certainly can.
And look how successful we are in the podcast. Yeah, I mean, we're celebrities.
Exactly.
And it happens.
Yeah, sure we are.
Yeah, huge. It's hard to go. It's hard to go to Starbucks when you're me and Adam.
Exactly.
It's tough. It's a tough life, but somebody's got to live it.
I will say this though, but I don't think we can't put ourselves in their shoes, considering we don't know what it's like to be hounded by paparazzi and and fans and stuff like that, where I can assume eventually it's going to get to you when you
Sure.
have stuff on TV going on about you, making speculations and accusations and whatever towards you on a daily basis, that I'm just assuming that at some point it's going to get to you and you're going to flip out. Namely, like what happened to Britney Spears.
Mm-hmm.
Is she got to her breaking point. I believe everybody out there has a breaking point, and considering a lot of these individuals, especially when you're dealing with celebrities that are in the public spotlight, whether on their TV, movie, radio, whatever, their personal life is very public, and people are going to be witness to that, to their public breakdowns and their struggles, and especially too with social media and everything now. It's the way that that information travels. I think that the perception based on that is magnified much more just because of how much access we have to these celebrities, like a Lindsay Lohan, or Amanda Bynes is another one who had a very, very public breakdown, especially on Twitter. Britney Spears. I'm not so much on board with the Katy Perry one. I know she's become kind of a target with some of the conspiracy theories surrounding the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton and stuff like that just because she was so close to her campaign. But and the same thing with Kanye West. I mean, the David Chappelle thing is obviously interesting just because of all the money he left on the table. But I mean, whatever he says, obviously that holds true to him, and it is much more valid, I think, than anything else somebody can say about it. But I mean, Dave Chappelle he had a hit TV show. I mean, the Chappelle show was unbelievable. I mean, there wasn't a sketch comedy act like that since the heyday of SNL.
You're right.
And I think
he was huge.
Yeah, and
everybody was on board. Everybody loved Chappelle,
and he signed that big contract, and I think he just fell under all this pressure to keep on doing better things than he did before, and I can certainly see why that would eventually get to him.
So what you're saying is you definitely think all these people are under MKUltra?
No, I can't get on board with that one.
Have you heard anyone talking about it? I know we're really digging deep here, but hey, it's a Deep Issues show. Have you heard them any of the stuff surrounding the UCLA Medical Center?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's where Kanye went, and that's where he comes out, and he's all of a sudden he's got the weird blonde hair, and he's got this like look on his face, like he's just not there. And this
so
is
did
also,
he blonde? Did he bleach his hair blonde, or did the government bleach his hair blonde?
Well, what they're maybe just something to kick around, perhaps. That's something with when he looks in the mirror and sees that blonde hair, that sparks this new milder version of himself.
Okay.
This is also where Michael Jackson was taken, was the UCLA Medical Center, and he was alive when they took him there, and a lot of people kind of say that, it wasn't so much what he did, it was, he went in there and they took care of him. They finished the job. But the idea is that, in the depths of the UCLA Medical Center, you have some super bad, MKUltra stuff going on. The doctors popping in wearing Baphomet masks and freaking people out and going nuts and really terrorizing these people to the point where they are now back on board with whatever they were meant to do beforehand. That this is this is an Illuminati stronghold or something in there, and they're really throwing it down. The one thing I want to go into on this isn't something that I've read somewhere or seen in a YouTube video or anything else, but we're talking about, they started this in 1953. That's when we know they started it. So, it was probably, the ideas being kicked around before that World War II era is when, these ideas kind of start. But we know for sure the CIA is working on it in 1953. That's before my parents were born.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's 64 years ago. So the people working on it, they're not alive anymore. These people who are, the heads of this program. If you were involved in it, you are dead or a very, very old at this point. If you were the young nurse in there at age 20, well, you're 84 years old now. But the thing that I like to say about this, whether the CIA is still doing these experiments, I have no idea. You can easily say, no, they're not. No, they got shut down. They can't do it. They can't risk it. Not after they got in all this heat. So, all right, maybe the CIA did stop in 73 or in the 80s or something. Maybe the government's not doing it. But I kind of have this thing to me where you can't stop the science. And if they were there in 1953 and 1973, then to me, somebody is working on this stuff.
Somebody still is working on it.
Somebody is. I don't know who, I don't know where, but you don't just stop the science.
You don't just spend $5,000 on a toilet seat.
Right.
$7,000 on a hammer.
Exactly. So I don't buy it that nobody's doing this stuff. And if they could do this in the 50s, what can they do now? I refuse to believe that there isn't things that can be done that not only fulfill the dreams of what the CIA wanted to do in the 50s, but that they far surpass what the CIA knew they could do or thought they could do in the 1950s. So to me, whether that's the Illuminati doing it, whether it's a different government doing it, whether it's just some secret cell doing it somewhere, I refuse to believe that this isn't out there. That there isn't something going on that this can be done to people. They were certain they could do it in the 50s. What can they do in 2017?
Well, I mean, initial reasons then. I mean, who's to make the argument against there being good initial reason now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the initial reason then was the Red Scare. The initial reason now would be terrorism, foreign terrorism. I'm not saying that either one is a good reason to control mind, but again, there is those initial reasons which they've used before to justify a project like this being undertaken. So,
yeah, no, I don't know. I just feel like somebody's working on this somewhere. CIA, FBI, NSA, Illuminati, Russian government, the Chinese, the North Korea. Somebody's doing this. Somebody's working on this, and it's there. You know, I look at it. We know they had a stealth bomber in 1975. What kind of aircraft do they really have now? You know, that's you know, and it's that type of thing that just you don't stop the science from happening.
What are they hiding at Area 51?
Right.
What's so secretive that, you know, they will shoot you on sight if you.
And if the CIA gives up this information in the 70s, what did they really have? Because they didn't give it all to us.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I mean, you even look at this North Korea thing. If you want to draw parallels to anything, North Korea is a third world country who wasn't believed to be capable of miniaturizing a nuclear warhead until next year.
Mm-hmm.
It's now out that they may have miniaturized and accomplished this technology a month ago.
Sure.
So if you take North Korea and then you put the United States in its place when it comes to the time it takes for them not to have a miniaturized nuclear weapon to the time it takes them to have it, I mean, the capabilities of the United States in that place, I mean, would be far greater.
Right.
I mean, considering all the money and technology and research and so on and so forth that the United States has done,
mm-hmm.
It's really kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, and you know, and I don't know when people have been asking me and say, "Oh, what do you think? Do you think North Korea has a nuke?" I have no idea.
Well, they do.
I mean, well, yeah, but what can it do? Who knows? You know, I don't believe what our government says, and I definitely don't believe what North Korea says. So I don't know.
Well, they have nuclear weapons because they've conducted 5 nuclear tests since 2005. Sure. So
and so furthermore, going back to my idea about what can they do with these MKUltra plans now, all I know is that the United States had an atomic bomb that could do a whole lot of damage in 1945.
Mm-hmm.
We had one in 1945. You think no one else can do that yet? I mean, I don't think they have the capability we have, or that Russia has, or that France has, for that matter. But science isn't a secret.
No.
It's there. It exists. So we had atomic bombs in 1945. You really think a third world country nowadays couldn't do that? Couldn't duplicate that technology? I think you're nuts to think they can't.
Oh, it's already there. I mean, the last nuclear test that North Korea performed was twice as powerful as the bomb dropped on Nagasaki.
Right.
So they have it. North Korea has it. It's just at this point right now, the hurdles being presented to them is, whether or not they can master reentry with these nuclear missiles. Can they shoot it up
via biplane?
Yeah,
like we did in 45.
Yeah, can they shoot a missile, have it go, leave the Earth's atmosphere, and then re-enter without it burning up? And can they sit there and they target accurately, Tokyo or San Francisco or Chicago or
even Guam?
Yeah. I mean, those are the big question marks now. It doesn't seem like the big question is whether or not they can miniaturize, because it sounds like they can, but can they re-enter it into the atmosphere, and can they target it accurately? Mm-hmm. And again, you want to put that if you want to draw a parallel with the United States. The United States was developing this MKUltra stuff back in the 50s, like you said. Mm-hmm. We've come a long way since the 1950s.
Right.
Does that hold true with MKUltra?
I mean, exactly. Just think about how much a government...
Because it's not a secret.
Right.
It's not a conspiracy.
Right.
This is something that happened.
You're absolutely right. This is not a conspiracy. This is not made up. This
the only
happened.
conspiracy about this is what is the end game? What are they gonna, how far was this going to go?
Right. I mean, think about how different a living room has become since the 1940s or 1950s. You really think that government labs haven't made those same leaps and bounds?
Look at how far our cell phones have come in the past 15 years.
I mean, exactly. What did a living room look like in 1953?
You had a radio,
maybe a black and white TV.
Maybe a black and white TV if you were fortunate enough. I don't know. I don't know if black and white TVs existed then. You certainly had a radio, probably though. Couch.
Yeah, you definitely had TVs. You had a black and white TV.
Okay.
If you were a well-off family, you had a black and white TV.
Okay.
One TV in your house.
Yeah.
Unless you were, super rich. The idea of having 2 televisions in your house was silly.
Did they have a DVR or anything like that too?
No DVR.
No DVR, no TiVo.
Yep. No computers of any kind, people. No computers whatsoever.
Not personal computers.
Right. There's nobody in their house. Not the Rockefellers. Nobody has...
Well, the Rockefellers might have.
I doubt they did in their living room, man.
Not in their living room.
I'm saying they were talking living rooms here.
Not in their living room.
This is what did the living room look like? Think about the leaps and bounds the living room has taken since 1953, and then tell me that you don't think that government labs have made those same, have made those same strides.
Yeah.
You'd be a lunatic to say that. You'd be crazy. You'd be as crazy as Kathy O'Brien.
Alex Jones.
Yeah. By the way, Kathy O'Brien does seem to be on board with the reptile thing too.
Oh, of course she does.
Yeah. That all the elites are really lizard people. At least to some degree, she's on board with some of the lizard people stuff, which I don't even know if we've talked about.
I figured she would be on board with that.
We've talked about having deep issues about the lizard people thing, but I think we all are kind of biased and think that that's pretty ridiculous. So I really don't know that I wouldn't be unwilling to do a show about the everybody's the David Icke thing that all the elites are really lizard people.
Is that where we're drawing the line?
I mean, again, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't know. But one more thing I do want to cover, and this is an individual thing that happened, a one direct thing. But Adam, do you remember the Uber shooter?
Yes.
The guy, the Uber driver who killed the 6 people, or shot I don't think they all died, but who shot the 6 people. It was here in Michigan, in Kalamazoo. He's an Uber driver who freaked out and just went on a shooting spree, basically.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I remember when I heard that. I will admit, I heard that and heard the guy talk. Heard the guy saying his reasoning for doing it, and everyone, of course, wrote him off as crazy because why wouldn't you? But I admit, I heard that and I thought, MKUltra. I did. I
remember. I think now that you mention it, I remember you. I remember you saying something.
I feel like that was a some sort of test. That driver claimed that the Uber app made him do it.
The Uber app made him do it.
Yeah, well, but who knows if that's what he's thinking. Who knows what the right frame of mind was. But he was saying that it was in his head. He was looking at his body, but he couldn't control it. And that he was being told he had to do these things, and he did them. This was a guy he was a family man, no previous psychotic episodes, no criminal record, no history of bad behavior. And this guy all of a sudden is told through his smartphone he needs to do some things, and he did them. And I don't know. I'll be honest with you. It screamed MKUltra to me. And if it's not MKUltra, when I say MKUltra, I of course am meaning an overlapping, all-encompassing idea that mind control. You know, a mind control idea. I admit, maybe that makes me sound just as crazy as some of these other people, but I don't know. Something just didn't seem right to me about that. I get that feeling a lot when I hear something on the news where I just feel like we're not being told everything, or that we're not really getting the story here. And that was one of those things where I thought, we're not really getting the story here. That I feel like there's an agenda behind this, one way or another, and I feel like that guy was a pawn in something. What? I have no idea. But I feel like that guy was a pawn in something, some sort of test. Like, let's see if we can really do this. Maybe I'm nuts. Speaking of nuts, this is not the only Deep Issues cast that we're going to do this month. It is not. We do the Deep Issues shows the 2nd and 5th Tuesday of every month. When I tell people on the streets that we do Deep Issues 2nd and 5th Tuesday, they say there isn't a 5th Tuesday, and in most months they're right. But sometimes there is a 5th Tuesday in the month, and when there is, we do a Deep Issues show on it.
Yep.
So, we will be doing one more on, I believe it's August 29th. Yes, it is August 29th. Tuesday, August 29th is the next Deep Issues cast. On that show, we will not be digging into Pumpkin to find our next show because we already have the Deep Issues show planned for September. We're going to be doing...
September 12th.
Yeah, it will be on September 12th. We will be doing the September 11th, the 9/11 conspiracies around that. We'll be covering 9/11 because, well, 'tis the season.
And hopefully Ed's here for that one because I know he's a big...
He is.
He is a 9/11 truther.
He is, big time. So I'm hoping Ed will be there, but his wife is expecting around then, so we might not be sure if Ed will be at the September one until maybe like an hour or two before. Hopefully Kyle will be joining us for one or both these ones coming up, but like I said, on this October 29th show, we will not be going into Pumpkin, because we already know what's going on in September, but tonight we will be going to Pumpkin to find out.
We got his blessing too. The Pumpkin's blessing not to go, not to pick from him next week or next time.
We did.
I mean, because
we had to worship to an owl named, Owl of Minerva, and we had to, go do a cremation of care. It was ugly, but we did have to do it, and we sold our souls to Pumpkin.
So, Josh, why don't you go ahead and pick it out?
Okay.
Hand it to me. Let me switch the camera here. There we go.
All right.
Got one?
Got one.
Got one. Okay.
Okay, so the next show on the Deep Issue show, not the next show. The next show will be this time next week here on the EmpireMedia.com, but the next Deep Issue show will be October 29th, and the topic will be...
August 29th.
August 29th, I'm sorry, I don't even know what I said. But
October 29th.
I said October, I don't know why.
That's okay.
But August 29th, and the topic will be...
Ooh. I think this might have been one of mine.
Okay.
This is going to be interesting. It is going to be Zombie Apocalypse.
Zombie Apocalypse. Love it. That will be a fun one. Okay.
Which is also a very real thing too, because the Pentagon does have a they do have a plan in place in case there is a zombie apocalypse.
This is going to be a fun one.
So.
This is going to be a fun one. So.
Big Walking Dead fan, too, myself. So
yes, tune in next week for our regularly scheduled
program. Before we go off, let's put a cap on this MK.
I'm not trying to end the show here. Okay. I'm just telling everybody to tune in.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't forget that we still will be on next week and the week after doing our regular show, but August 29th is the next Deep Issues. So if you're one of those people who only listens the second second Tuesday of the month, listen to the 5th Tuesday this this month as well. But we need to talk about how we feel about MKUltra to wrap up the show. So go ahead, Adam.
I was just gonna say that when it comes to MKUltra, like we said many times tonight, that there's no denying that MKUltra was a thing and it was a project undertaken by the government. And I know I get made fun of sometimes on this show as being a big government guy, and when it comes, for me, I believe that there's a lot of good that comes of government programs. With government programs, I know you disagree, Josh.
It's a hard one to sit through. It's a hard statement for me to sit through, but that's okay.
But I think there does have to be a line drawn somewhere, and we talked about it. Was it our last show when we were discussing, chips, computer chips being put into people's wrists and hands and everything by these companies in Wisconsin and these companies in Sweden, I believe. And I think that's there's some aspects there where you have to draw the line in what the government can do to you. And I think that's one line you have to draw, and mind control is certainly one line where you have to draw that it just can't happen. Look, I'm a guy that believes in stem cell research and in, like I said, in government programs when it comes to like the social programs and stuff like that. But when we're talking mind control and when we're talking computer chips and stuff like that, then that just gets a little too deep into just mass control of the population. That is just it's very real. It's very real, and it's something that's not good. There is no good end game to anything like that. There's no positive to come out of that.
Right.
There is only evil implications that arise when you're trying to control somebody else's mind or put a microchip in them. Don't tell me that you can't sit here and implement some type of GPS device into it, because you can. And
of course you can.
And don't tell me that, we're only going to be using this on enemy combatants when it comes to MKUltra, because that's not the case. You know it. You know that if you have that power to use it on your population, at some point you're going to do it.
If you don't, the next guy might.
Exactly.
So what do you think, Adam? MKUltra, some of the stuff we talked about being implemented, things like that. We know that MKUltra exists, but some of the more conspiracy type things we're talking about. You on board with any of this at all, or you think it's junk?
No, I don't think you can't throw it out the window and just say it's not real, because it is real. And I thought you brought up a very good point that about the science and all of this is, and science never stops.
Mm-hmm.
And the government has proven time and time again to be very, very stubborn. Not to mention too that the initial reasons for them to develop this, when it came to the Soviet Union and battling communism and that whole aspect, and you can make the same argument with terrorism now. Is there that initial reason to continue this or to whatever? It's there, and I don't know if it stopped. I don't believe it is stopped, and I don't know. I definitely think it's still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think we disagree too much on this particular topic. When it comes to MKUltra, I'll admit it, everybody. I totally will admit it. I'm on board. I believe that some really crazy things can be done, and I think they have been done. I think this exists, and I don't know if it's the CIA still doing it. I don't know what the deep dark and the CIA really do actually. I don't know if it's really them calling the shots or not. So do I believe that the Illuminati is controlling the brains of some of the elite and some of the celebrities and
That I can't get on board
some
with.
of the regular people. I might believe that. I don't know to what extent, but I do, and I definitely believe that. I believe this technology and this science. I think it's out there, and I think it's being used on people. I do. To what extent, I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I'm on board with this. I really am. This is one. This is one of the crazier things that I really am. I am sold on it, and I believe it's happening. So Adam and I aren't disagreeing too much, but I'm fully acknowledging I'm taking it much further than him. I'm taking the big leap on this one, and yeah, I'm on board. It's happening, and I gotta tell you, it scares the crap out of me. It really does. It absolutely scares the crap out of me. But I think that is it for webisode number 51K of the XCast. Please check us out.
Episode 51 MKUltra.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Love it. But hey, thanks for listening, everybody, and hope you enjoyed it. Check out our past shows, our past deep issue shows, our past regular shows, and check out our future shows. Always right here on the EmpireMedia.com.